about to ask a favor, he'd assume this had nothing to do with him. His magazine features were mostly profiles of architects and fashion designers. He hasn't written a word about sports since he was on his high school newspaper, nursing an ill-fated crush on the quarterback. Mark drains his gin and waves the bartender over for some more. You need a highbrow sports feature for the magazine, and you want me to write it. Yes, says Andy, drawing out the syllable and looking at his drink instead of at Mark. You know when a paper publishes a weekly diary by an athlete over the course of a season? Mark scoffs. I don't think any of those have ever actually been written by the ball player. It's always some poor bastard in the sports department. He trails off as Andy's meaning makes its way through the haze of gin. No, absolutely not. I'm not ghostwriting a ball player diary. I can't think of anyone on your entire staff less qualified. Nonsense. You follow the game. You and Nick complain about the Yankees every time we see you, and I know you were pleased to hear about the Robins coming to New York because you said so in my own kitchen. Mark glares at Andy. Surely using his own words against him counts as emotional blackmail. He and Nick have been paying attention to the trials and travails of the city's new baseball team. Nick because he loves baseball, and Mark because he loves drama. But Mark doesn't follow the game. A passing familiarity with baseball is something he caught, like the measles, not something he did on purpose. Why can't you have one of the junior sports writers do it? Or someone else who can be motivated by an extra $10 a week? Andy goes back to swirling the ice around in his glass. Well, the player I was thinking of might need special treatment. What player do you have in mind? That new shortstop, O'Leary. You think people want to read a diary by a guy who threw a tantrum in public after he was traded here, and who's barely managed to hit the ball since then? Mark cannot think of anything more likely to get someone to throw their paper directly into the nearest trash can. There has to be more to him than that, Andy suggests. He called the manager a drunken psychopath, the team a bunch of talentless layabouts, and the owners a couple of debutantes. Mark has seen these phrases printed in every paper he reads, and has heard them repeated everywhere from the subway to the Chronicle break room. Andy shrugs. Is any of that wrong, though? Mark snorts. Probably not, he concedes. There's no way the Robins will let him within 10 yards of a reporter. They're operating under the idea that any press is good press if it gets people to the stadium. Still, it ought to be a sports writer who does it. Well, that's the problem. Half the sports desk staff have publicly insulted O'Leary. The other half, well, nobody is going to believe O'Leary wrote this diary if it's filled with aw-shucks earnestness. It would have to have an edge. Andy, Mark says, laughing despite himself. Are you calling me mean? No, Andy protests. He's a terrible liar. Just cynical, maybe, when you want to be. Anyway, writing the weekly diary would get you access to the team, which you can use to write the magazine feature. I'd like to run it the first Sunday in October. If you're up to it, that is. He's offering Mark a graceful out, and Mark's tempted to take it. But with the magazine about to take over the 5th floor, it would be nice to have an excuse for you to keep that office. At the idea that he might lose his office, Mark feels a faint stirring of panic. Where would he go all day? Where, other than that office on the semi-deserted 5th floor of the Chronicle building, could he be allowed to hide away, spending what Lillian persists in calling the best years of his life organizing paper clips by size and hoarding all the best pens? The Chronicle, the familiarity of it all from his typewriter with its sticky F to the people he sees in the elevator, has kept him afloat this past year. He has to get out of bed because he has to brush his teeth. He has to brush his teeth because he has to go to work.